Roots to Wellbeing uses the 5 ways to wellbeing to support your mental health. Connect, take notice, keep learning, be active and give. Thanks for watching.
Oh, hello. I'd like to talk about how somebody, according to the government, is high risk, how that person is coping with the lockdown. I'm 76 years old and I want to show you what we're doing in our isolated state. And as you can see, I do not have the usual bookcase as a backdrop like they have on the television at the minute. In some respects it helped me being an only child, as when I was young I invented various things to keep me occupied. But the big challenge for me was in 2002, as whilst on holiday in Wales I was, to put it bluntly, peeing pure blood. Tests were carried out and it was discovered that I had a cancerous lump about the size of a cricket ball, I suppose it was. Anyway, it had grown into my right kidney, and after various consultations it was decided that they'd removed the cancerous lump along with my right kidney. So it was quite frightening actually. I've never obviously had an operation before, and you have to get a mindset for that. You know, you have to really get your head round what was going to happen. And well, I managed to do all that and it worked out okay. After the operation I was clear, you know, no problem. And I must admit, at that time I was working at the Hackney Empire as an electrician doing a refurbishment there, and I actually went back after I came out of the hospital. I actually went back to see the foreman about carrying on working, and he said I looked very healthy, you know, looked okay. But it was about, I don't know, a month after the operation I didn't realise that the hospital had given me these tablets to relieve the pain, which was some sort of morphine tablets, I suppose. And after that course of tablets had finished, the pain kicked in, and it was really painful. And I realised then I was going to be off work long term. It was in this period that I needed something to do, as it was hard to do any manual work. It was then I decided to do a web page. But what subject would I do? I was sitting on my computer, and on the shelf beside me were some old comics. These comics were British comics, and looking online I couldn't find anything, any website that dealt with British comics. Plenty of American, you know, Superman and all this rubbish, but nothing about British comics. So I started doing that. I managed to do one page because I didn't really know what I was doing. But over the years the website has grown, you know, there's quite a lot of pages there now. And the BBC magazine interviewed me about the website, and the Yorkshire Post. But one of the interviews I did was for the Financial Times, where I pointed out that the comics would be the next antiques. I mean, a price for a Beano is, well, I've seen them go for £20,000 for a Beano #1 from 1940. The Dandy comic, 1937, with free whistle, is a similar price. Even more modern comics are increasing in value. Commander Comics, which started in the 1960s, a #1 issue would sell for £600. So last year, I went for the first time, I went to a Comic Con in Watford where people attending could buy and sell their comics. I went out of curiosity really. I was talking to someone I knew from Facebook, and when I gave him my name, he shouted out to all in the small scout hall, "It's Vic!" There was a deathly silence, and people were coming up, shaking my hand, and some were asking for autographs. It turns out that my website was their Bible on British comics, and one chap was in the throes of writing a book where I am mentioned several times, and he asked me to sign the draft copy. In 2012 I joined a group of people interested in scanning comics. As far as I know, there are only 14 of us. I don't know their names or where they live. We all have tag names, but there is a moderator who collates all the information. And earlier this year we celebrated by scanning our 1.5 millionth page. Is that right? Millionth page? Yeah, I suppose it is. I think if you add how many comics have been produced in Britain, that figure represents around a third, I suppose. The last few weeks I've been working on a project for a group of students in Bournemouth who approached me for information on the Big Five comics. The Big Five comics were the Adventure, Hotspur, Rover, Skipper and Wizard, with characters like Alf Tupper, Bernard Briggs, William Wilson, Matt Baddock and many others. You of an older generation will know what I'm talking about. My other interest is railways. This came about as I lived opposite Paddington Station, and I could sit on our first floor balcony and watch the world go by, including trolley buses. Happy days. It was around 10 years ago that my granddaughter and I were rummaging around the loft when we discovered some of my model locomotives, which had been carefully packed away and forgotten about. She inquired if they were working, and I told her with a bit of cleaning and oiling in the right place we should be able to get them working. The problem was where to try them out, as the loft was full of what I can only describe as reading material. Her interest got me thinking what I could do. It came to me that the only place to try them out was in the garden. Our local church was looking for people to open their gardens for charity. Our garden is not the best looking in the grand scheme of things, but I like to think of it as a natural garden, especially popular with birds and even a fox now and then. The church was short of gardens, so to show we volunteered our garden. My granddaughter was on the hand to demonstrate the railway with a commentary on what locomotives were on show. The day went well, and it was months later that people I did not recognise would stop me in the street and mention the railway. All I have done up to now is mention myself. In 1969 I married my wife Joyce. I was doing well at work, having been made up to foreman, and Joyce was doing well in nursing and was promoted to sister. Things were looking up for us, and to our peers we were the ideal couple. But it was at this time that I noticed a change in Joyce, and the responsibility of being a sister was too much. I forgot how, but Joyce had a chance of becoming a house mother. We had an interview at Westminster City Hall in Victoria, which went well, and Joyce was offered the position of house mother on our local housing estate. We were provided with a flat, with all the amenities, and I acted as unpaid house father, going to work as normal. The home had capacity for up to 5 children, all short term. We also had a cleaner and a young woman helper. This woman was doing this for the experience, as she wanted to be a social worker. So everything seemed to be working fine. We had a free flat, the food was paid for, my wife was paid, and we even had a float for outings. So children would arrive short term, but while with circumstances, I should say, in most cases, while their parents sorted out situations through no fault of their own. For example, one child we had was there because her parents' flat had had a fire and needed time to sort things out. Parents were allowed to visit any time they liked if arranged in advance. Of course, there were some instances where the child was in our protection, short term, due to abuse at home. These children required special attention. So all in all, things were going well for us. We had no outlays and could start putting money by to eventually get a mortgage. 9 months of running the home that I noticed a change in Joyce, and I think it was down to 2 factors. The young woman who came in daily to help was very overbearing. She would undermine Joyce's authority, and I would have to console her on my return from work. The other factor, I think, was because she was looking after these children, she was pining for a child of her own. This had a large bearing on her mental stability. It came to the notice of one of the council members who came to check the home, and after a meeting it was decided to move Joyce to a larger home with more staff. We were provided with a basement room within the complex, and it was a very sad time for us. The authorities would not dismiss Joyce, but things are going downhill fast, to such an extent that Joyce was sectioned and spent the rest of what was to be a regular pattern being institutionalised. We have had difficult periods over the years, but we have got through them. As for Joyce, it was a matter of making quilt covers and other things to keep herself busy. In fact, the wall hanging behind me is one she is working on. I think that our isolation has been okay as we care for each other. We both have our interests, which keeps us both occupied and sane. Well, I hope that has been an insight to how after 8 weeks we are coping, and I think our future will be the same for a while, no matter what the government advises. Thank you for listening.
If you feel inspired and want to learn ways to support your mental health, please subscribe to our channel. Or you can find us at www.rootstowellbeing.org. And if you would like to get involved in future videos, please contact hello@rootstowellbeing.org. Thank you.